1 Kings chapter 19. Very familiar verse of scripture here. 1 Kings chapter 19. I'll just read 4 verses and we'll kind of go from there. If I don't get done with this today, we'll continue in another message. It says that Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done. And you know what Elijah had done. He had killed all the prophets of Baal. Fire came down from heaven, and it was a great revival, and the people were saying, "The Lord, He is God." It was a great day in Israel, and Elijah had the power of God on his life. I mean, you really would be hard-pressed to find anybody else that could equal what happened on that day with Elijah. I mean, wet wood, water in the troughs, and the fire of God licked it all up and burned it all up, and then he took a sword and killed all the prophets of Baal. Great day, revival come to Israel. Well, Ahab didn't like that. Of course, he went home and told Jezebel, his wife, everything had happened. And with how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, "Go let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time." Pretty stiff words. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah, and left his servants there. But he himself went a day's journey in the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die, and said, "It is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers." Now, I know you've read this a lot, and you've heard it preached a lot. But here's a fella, a man of God, a Christian, if you please, that was just about to quit. Here was one of God's choice servants, discouraged, defeated, depressed. I mean, it happened pretty quick. You have to admit, this all happened pretty quick. And here this choice servant of God is waiting and wishing for death. Just kill me, God. Let me die. Well, sitting in this room right now, right here today, is some of God's choice servants. And by the way, let me say this. Every person in this building has a call on your life.
Right.
You say, "Well, I don't feel called to preach." There's more to Christianity than just preaching.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, listen, it wasn't a preacher that influenced me when I was so steeped in sin. It was an old deacon that loved the Lord and that didn't give up on me, and that lived a consistent Christian life and prayed for me. I mean, that he's one of the first ones I wanted to talk to when I give my life to Jesus. Everyone in this building has got a call on your life. You need to understand that. But it's easy to quit. All over this nation, it's become second nature for people to quit. I mean, we quit church if the least little old thing doesn't suit us.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that happens to your place. It happens to my place all the time. I mean, something don't suit you, something don't go right. I mean, that they quit. And I probably told you this before, but 3 of the fellas that were listed on my trust as being pallbearers at my funeral have quit. 3 out of the 6. I'm talking about men that I listed and told my wife, and when I die, I want these guys to be the one to carry my body down to the front of the church and then carry me to the cemetery. These are my friends. These guys are loyal. I love these guys. And here they are. These are the 6 guys. 3 of them have quit. 3 out of 6. You say, well, that don't mean much to me. It means something to me.
Yeah, that's right.
But we live in that age, and it's infiltrated the church. We quit church, something happens we don't like. We quit marriage when things get tough. That's the way our society is. I'll just quit. I mean, I'll just get a divorce. I'll quit. Divorce is just quit.
That's right.
We quit paying bills. Bankruptcy is all-time high. You go on the TV and they're saying, hey, call us. We'll get you out of that credit card debt you're in where you don't have to pay who you said you'd pay. You bought that stuff and signed your name, but now we want to get you out of paying it. And there's somebody in this room that is taking advantage of that. I guarantee you.
That's right.
But all you do, you just say, I'm going to quit paying my bills. Y'all pay your bills.
Amen.
We quit the ministry.
That's right.
We quit our Sunday school class. We quit the bus route. We quit whatever ministry we're in. We quit God.
That's right.
We live in an epidemic age of quitting. We in the church are not exempt from this tendency in our society. The Bible's got a lot of illustrations about men who quit. There's a guy in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 10 that says, for Demas has forsaken me, having loved this present world, and departed into Thessalonica, Christians into Galatia, Titus unto Dalmatia. And it says that Demas has quit because he loved the world. Now listen, you or me, either one, don't know what it was that made him quit. It may have been a woman. It may have been a habit. It may have been money. It may have been pride. It may have just been he wanted to go back. You know, he had some good friends over there, fishing buddies. I don't know what it was. But it does know, it says he quit because he loved the world. But something in this old world caused him to quit everything that he knew to be right. Must have been a powerful spirit to get Demas to just quit.
That's right.
Well, let me read you another passage in Matthew chapter 13, verse 3. It said, and he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon the stony places when they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up because they had no deepness of earth. When the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. Some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Now I preach this message to myself before I preach it to you. And I looked at my life. Somebody out here a while ago was just talking about some of this stuff. They said it was Luke. He said that you've sure been through a lot in your life, and that's a true statement. But I preach this message myself about the lawsuits, the losses we've had, the financial chaos, the divorce, even in my own family. And in this message, I want to address this issue because I think I know how Elijah felt at this time. But I'm going to tell you, the title of my message today, and if I need to continue later, is Don't Quit Now. And I'm going to tell you why you don't need to quit now. Don't quit now. Number one, don't quit now because there's too much in the past to keep. There's too much. You listen to me, this is some good stuff. Don't you quit. Some of you right now, you got quitting on your mind. You're thinking about quitting your class, thinking about quitting, visitation, thinking about quitting the church, thinking about quitting your ministry, thinking about quitting your marriage, thinking about you fill in the blank. But I'm telling you right now, don't you quit now because there is too much in the past for you to keep. I want you to go back to 1 Kings chapter 17 and verse 4. It said, and it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. Folks, and what God was doing here with Elijah
is God was saying, hey, I want you to be reminiscent of some things that I've done for you in the past. He said, I've been a good God to you in the past. I mean, forget about what just happened over on Mount Carmel. Hey, we're not even going to mention that right now. But hey, you remember the times I provided for you? You remember when things looked bleak in your life? Remember the times when man, that everything wasn't going right, but yet I showed up just in the nick of time, and I was there, and I delivered you, and I helped you, and I blessed you. And he began to remind Elijah about how faithful that he had been to him in the past. Let me ask you, has God ever been faithful to you in the past? Amen. Has God come in the nick of time and just come into your situation and helped you, or maybe just give you peace, or just bless your soul, or maybe just let you know everything's going to be all right because He's God and He loves you?
Amen. Yes.
And I'm telling you right now, don't you quit now. Because there's too much in the past to keep. I'm not going to go through a bunch of trouble in my life, but God's provided for this old boy. And when there's times that I start thinking about, and I tell you what, I'm an old man now. And yes, there's times that the thought comes, well, hey, you've got some toys now to play with, and you've got your lake house to go down to, and you've got your pontoon boat to fish in, and you love to set out jug lines with your grandkids, and you know what? The old devil sometimes comes up to me and says, hey, why don't you just enjoy life and just quit? I mean, I'm going to tell you that sometimes I'm tempted with that. But then, in the same time, the Holy Spirit comes and begins to remind me about how God has blessed my life and my ministry. I mean, the times He's provided, the times that God has helped me on airplanes and the near wrecks. And I've told you about that stuff in the past, but my mind starts going back. The Holy Spirit runs by my mind and reminds me of those times and those places and those things that God has done. I mean, those times that God forgave you when you messed up, when you messed up. You remember when God forgave you and gave you another chance? Anybody here remember those days? I mean, when you were down on yourself and maybe down on the church, and God swooped in and convicted your soul, and you come and said, God, forgive me, and He did.
Amen.
God's been faithful to us. Everybody, not just me, but God's been faithful to all of us in the past. So you can't quit now. You can't quit now. There's too much in the past to keep. I mean, he reminded him, hey, remember when I brought those Big Macs for the Ravens? Hey, remember when that water came down, that good, clean, clear water, and I took care of you, Elijah. Remember that? Well, then he goes on in verse 9 of chapter 17. He says, arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I've commanded a widow woman there to sustain thee. You remember the story? The brook dried up. You know why that brook dried up? Because there was a widow woman over in Zidon that needed to see the hand of God. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, God's at work. Hey, you remember that's illustration where the oil and the meal didn't run out?
That's right.
I mean, Elijah comes in like a lot of preachers. Now, I mean, all they got's enough. He said, make me a cake to eat. And I mean, you notice how he said it. He said, he didn't really ask. He just says, make me something to eat. Yeah. She knew him. He knew her, and she said, well, brother preacher, she said, all I got's enough to just make one cake. And I was me and my child was going to eat that and then just die. Of course, Elijah said, no, I'm willing. He's typical preacher. I mean, hey, I've taken food out of babies' mouths and walked off just to Belgium. Not really. Just joking. You remember she did it, she obeyed God, and how, listen, all I'm doing in this verse said is just letting you know God is reminding Elijah about his faithfulness to him in days gone by.
Right.
Listen, you or I, neither one deserve what we've got.
Right.
We don't deserve to live like we've lived. And even to have the could I say, amenities that we have today, we don't deserve that. But God, in His mercy, has chosen to bless us. God, in His infinite wisdom and goodness and mercy, has chosen to pour down blessings on all of us. Not just me, but you, all of us. God has blessed us. And that's all God is trying to get through today. He said, son, you can't quit now. Because there's too much in the past to keep. Well, provision of God there at Zion. You remember the oil just kept coming, the meal just kept coming in that empty barrel, and she sold it. I mean, hey, it was just a great day. It never did run out. That's what I'm saying. Never did run out. Right. Well, in 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 21, it said, "He straight." You remember that kid that had died?
Right.
Y'all remember that? Y'all to say it. Well, the kid's dead. I'm saving some time here. The kid died. He went in. And it said there's a lot of preaching, by the way, before you get to him getting there. The faith that this lady had when they asked her, what's going on, she said, it is well. You remember that? That's a good message there. But anyway, when he finally gets there to the house where the kid's laying in there dead, it said that he stretched himself on the child 3 times and cried to the Lord, said, "Oh Lord, my God, I pray thee, let this child's soul come unto him again." And the truth, you know what happened? The kid got raised from the dead.
Right.
God said, you can't quit now. Because I've done too many things for you in the past. Brother Danny, we've seen dead raised. I mean, hey, in the last several years you've been in Wasco, you've seen a bunch of dead raised, haven't you? I mean, the picture says, you were dead in trespasses and sin. He said, we got quickened that we're dead in trespasses and sin. I mean, at Cornerstone, Brother Jacob, one of my members back there, he can verify that down in his lifetime, we've had thousands of dead people that are now alive. And across the world, and through our ministry, there's thousands that are alive now because of God's grace and God's mercy. And you know what? Those times in my life when the devil comes begin to whisper in my ear, when somebody is mad at me or somebody don't like me, which is pretty often. Well, it's not funny. Just kidding, sis. She don't know me yet. That back there, though. God, remind me. They've been dead raised.
Yeah, that's right.
People that were going to hell that now get to go to heaven.
Amen.
Good.
I don't deserve that. Not even one. Because when he says when you win one, you cover a multitude of sins. I'm hoping that's a literal verse. Because I need it to cover. But God says don't quit now because there's too much. I'm asking you right now to let the Holy Ghost speak to you. There's too much in the past for you to lay down on God now.
Amen.
1 Kings 18:38. That's when the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust. You did see that where the fire even consumed the stones?
That's right.
And the dust even burnt the dirt and licked up the waters in the trench. Listen. We've seen the fire of God fall. Wasco, I know that you have seen the fire of God. Yeah. At Cornerstone, we have seen the fire of God. At Norwalk, at Saline as well, there's been times when you have witnessed the fire of God.
Yeah.
And God's reminded Elijah about all this, and he says, listen, you can't quit now. There's too many miracles, too many things that God has done in the past for us to quit now. I may have shared this with you before, and if I did, that's okay, because you probably forgot it. I was I just flown in. I've been gone for 2 or 3 weeks, and I just flown in, and had got in late on Saturday, about noon on Saturday, from some meetings I'd been holding. And I was tired, just to be quite frank. By the way, don't feel sorry for me. I love what I do, and God has blessed what I do, and I'll keep doing it as long as both of those things are going on. But anyway, I got off the plane, went home, and sat down in my chair, and just planned on just sitting there in my recliner for a little bit. About that time, the phone rang. It was Gary Wilson from McCurtain, Oklahoma. Gary was a dear friend of mine, and down where I was raised. I was raised down there in that county. And he says, "Where are you at?" I said, "I'm home. I'm sitting in my easy chair." He said, "Did you forget you're supposed to be down here preaching tonight?" And it's the only time that's ever happened to me in all these years. I've never missed a day all these years. So I just don't do that. But I had literally forgotten this day. And I knew as soon as he said it that he was right. So I said, "Well, Gary," I said, "just keep singing." I said, "Start service." And at this time, it was about 4 o'clock, in the afternoon when he called me. And I remember he had told me when he called me back the year before to do this, he said, "Now listen, come early and we'll have supper ready for you here." That's why he called me at 4 o'clock. That's where you at. Well, I said, "Listen, I just got in." I said, "I'm sorry, I forgot." I said, "Go ahead and start the service and sing a whole bunch of songs and have a whole bunch of specials, and I'll get there I'll get there just as soon as I can." So I head out the door, and man, I'm rushing, I'm driving, I'm speeding, breaking the law in Jesus' name. I go through Muskogee, Oklahoma, and I'm speeding through Muskogee, and that's Smokey with Muskogee. Y'all all know that song. Y'all want me to sing it for you? No? Come on, Sister Claire. Policeman stopped me in Muskogee. Well, I was already aggravated, and I was already tired, and I was already, give out, and griping, and so anyway, he stopped me and says, "Where you going so fast?" I said, "I got to go preach." He said, "I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you go." He said, "You was only going 78 in a 45. He said, "I'm going to let you go." He said, my grandpa was a preacher. So I'm going to let you go and preach." He said, "But slow down." And I thanked him and went on about it. So anyway, I get down there, and the whole way, I'm upset, I'm mad, I'm aggravated, I'm tired, and I know nobody here has ever been in that. I know none of you have ever. None of you Sunday school teachers have ever drugged yourself to your classes. Oh my goodness, I don't want to do this. I know none of you have ever done that. None of you have ever. None of you have ever said, "I don't want to knock on the door. I'm tired of knocking on the door." I know nobody here has ever done that. That's where I was, I'm being honest with you. I was just aggravated and in a bad mood, and I know it's hard for you to imagine me being in a bad mood. So I drove up to the campground there. It's a camp, Free Will Baptist campground, and I got out and I went in, and they were still singing. They'd been singing about 40 minutes. And they said, "Oh, there's Brother Curtis. Come on up, Brother Curtis, and preach a message." Well, it just dawned on me that I'd not thought about what I was going to preach. I'm telling you nothing. Now, I'm sure I can get up, and I've done this long enough, I can get up and say something, but so I just opened my Bible, and there was one outline in there. Just one, that's it. And I was doing this as I was walking up. And this outline was, at the very top it said, "When a Christian loses his song," was the sermon. When a Christian loses his song. Isn't that ironic? I lost my song. Hey, I'm telling you, I was in a bad way there for a couple hours. But you know what? I preached that message, and as I preached that message, God began to convict my heart. And when I gave the invitation, I went to the altar before anybody else could get there. And I began to bawl and squall and slobber and ask God to forgive my wretched soul. And God, please help me. Please, God, forgive me. Oh, God, please. Please don't ever let me have that attitude again. Oh, God, you've been so good to me. I'm telling you what, I got and I bawled and squalled on that altar and asked God to forgive me. After the service, this young teenage boy, he walked up to me. He's about 18 years old. He says, Brother Linton, let me talk to you for a minute. I said, yeah. He said, about 18 years ago, you preached a meeting in the high school auditorium in Stigler. I said, yeah, I remember that. He said, well, my daddy used to drink with you a lot. He said, my daddy was George Bullard. I said, well, yeah, I know George. He said, well, that night, he said, Mom and Dad had separated. Mom and Dad were getting a divorce. I was raised with Billy, his mother, and was a drinking buddy of George. And he said, but that night, he said, on that Friday night when you preached, he said, Mama came in one door and sat over here. There was over 1,000 people there. Said, and Daddy came in just to hear you that night, and he came in and sat way over here, and neither one of them knew the other one was there. I hadn't heard this story before. He said, the altar call came, Mama went down and got saved on one aisle, and Daddy went down and got saved on the other aisle. And he said they left together, been together ever since. They helped start a church after that revival. The people that got saved in that revival had started the church. And he says, my dad's a deacon in the church, and he said, I just surrendered my life to God to be a preacher tonight. He said, I just wanted to thank you for being faithful to preach the Word of God. Well, I felt about that talk. Because the attitude I'd had before. I felt like a yellow dog, man. I mean, I could walk under the door. I mean, God just spoke to my heart, and God said, listen, it's worth it. And I'm telling somebody here today, God impressed this message for this day. God's impressed me, hey, don't quit now. There's too much in the past for you to keep. Brother David's here to verify this next thing I'm going to tell you about. There's this little bus kid down in Lawton, Oklahoma, my first church. I remember the door. I remember what it looked like in the apartment complex, government projects apartment complex. There's a kid named Marshall there, a little black kid named Marshall Bonet. He got to ride in our bus. He got saved as a little old boy. Got saved and come to our church. We went to youth camp one time and had a bus full of kids, and he was the only black kid. And as he got off the bus, the old preachers in that association says, wait a minute here. That inn, and they use the N-word, they said, we ain't never had no inn here at this Free Will Baptist camp, and that inn ain't coming here. One of the preachers, one of the guys that wrote the original treaties. 1935. They said, that inn ain't getting off that bus and coming to this camp. I said, yeah, he is.
Amen.
Yeah, he's coming. And, I just said, he's going to come camp this week. And he did. And, time went on. He was raised in our church. He went to Nashville with us and sung in our choir that won the National that year. And, he was friends with my kids, and he was raised in the church there. Anyway, he went on to the military, and what was he when he retired? A major? What was he, Brother David?
He was Ghost enlisted.
Yeah. He just excelled at everything he did, anyway, got out of the Navy, it was the Navy, wasn't it? And he began to work with Free Will Baptist Church, Virginia Beach, became the associate pastor there. Well, then, God called him just here, 2 years ago, to be a missionary, to start a Free Will Baptist Church, because he got saved in the Free Will Baptist mission. And he went to go before David's board. And while he was in there interviewing with the David, and by the way, now we've got a young black man that's starting a church in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and by the way, doing a great job.
Yes. That's right.
Great job. Diverse nationalities going to that church. But they called me, Jeff Jones called me from the National Mission Board, and those guys were in there squalling on the board because Marshall began to talk about being saved in a mission church on a bus route. And they called me. Brother David called me. Brother Jeff called me and told me, hey, your boy's here, and he's wanting to be a missionary. And they were all excited and elated about it. And God just came down in the board meeting, my understanding. But then you know what? God has allowed those things like that to happen in my life. To where when I get those times in my life when I want to give up and quit and not do and fulfill what I'm supposed to be doing, that God says you can't quit now because there's too much in the past for you to keep, for you to quit now. Romans 2:4 says, or despisest thou the riches of his goodness and forbearance and long suffering, not knowing that the goodness of God leadeth thee to repentance. And I'm telling you right now, God's goodness ought to draw some of you in this building that's got quitting, that's got laying down, that's got being, oh, listen to me, God speaking to your heart right now. You need to come to this altar and say, my God, I'm sorry. You've been too good to this old boy. You've been too good to my family for me to give up and for me to quit now.
Amen.
There's too much in the past for me to keep. Quit now. There's sometimes I'll just be walking around my place, fooling with my cattle and fishing in my pond. Sometimes I'm almost overwhelmed as an old man about how good God's been to me. Yeah, Sister Lupe, I've had some trouble and I've had some trials. But I've also had me some blessings.
Amen.
Yeah, I had tragedy with my daughters, but God healed them.
Amen.
God has provided everything in abundance. God's always been more than enough
Amen.
in my life. And I can't quit now because he's been too good to me.
Amen.
I saw Jimmy Swagger on TV the other day. You know what? He forgot what God had done in the past. Nobody reached the amount of people ever that he reached. God has healed marriages. God has healed diseases. God has done so much in my life. That's my first point. I'm going to stop with that first point. I got two more I'll do later in the week. Don't quit now. Because there's too much in the past for you to keep. Let's pray. God, I pray now. I know in these morning services, God, sometimes we don't really maybe anticipate your moving. But I believe there's somebody you're speaking to right now. Help us not let pride or arrogance keep us from obeying you. Holy Spirit of God, there's somebody here in this building right now that needs to come to this altar. God, I'm sorry. How in the world could I think about laying down? How could I think about quitting on you? As good as you've been to me. How could I quit my family, God, after how you've blessed? How could I quit my church after how you've been there with us and for us and blessed? How could I quit you? How could I quit my class, my route? How could I quit the ministry